Hello, I'm Alec Wilkinson, and this is episode 4 of Sailing Uncovered, the show that brings you the big names, the future talent, and hot topics from the world of sailing. You can find us on YouTube, you can download us and listen at leisure on podbean.com. You'll also find us on Twitter, and very soon on iTunes and Facebook as well. So exciting times, and no excuse to miss a single episode, especially if you subscribe and follow us as well, because we'll let you know whenever the new show is out. What a galaxy of dazzling stars we have for you on the show this month. Two Olympic gold medalists and a couple of America's Cup sailors.
Hi, this is Nathan Outteridge, and I'll be on the show in a few minutes, so keep listening.
Yes, one of Australia's biggest named sailors joins us to talk about his unbelievable Olympic and America's Cup sailing campaigns, and he really is a man who never rests. We'll be talking to Nathan Outteridge very shortly. Also coming up, we look ahead to the final and deciding event of the America's Cup World Series in Japan. But first, one of Britain's gold medalists at Rio 2016. With her partner Hannah Mills, she'd already won silver 4 years earlier in London, and those 2 Olympic medals are in addition to her 6 World Championship medals, all won in the 470 class of boat. Welcome to the show, Saskia Clark.
Hi.
You've been around a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, so about 16 years sort of full-time sailing.
Seriously though, congratulations on the gold medal. You've campaigned for so many years. Was there, a sense of relief when it was finally yours and it was finally over?
I think just really proud, really. Really proud of the sort of team that Hannah and I were at the Olympics, and that team we'd made with Joe Glanfield, our coach, and that we really sort of delivered when it mattered at the Games under some really tough conditions that we had in Rio. Okay,
well, it takes 2 to sail a 470, so describe your relationship with Hannah Mills, because she actually does the steering, doesn't she?
Yeah, so Hannah's the helm, and I'm the crew on the trapeze. And we just have a really sort of great working relationship together, really. When we're racing, we're sort of professional. We want to get the job done. We sort of can have those awkward conversations with each other if we feel that we need to make some gains, or like one or the other of us isn't quite sort of pulling their weight in an area. But then when we get ashore, we sort of have a great friendship and have a great time sort of travelling the world together.
And I'm sort of intrigued by these partnerships, because you live in each other's pockets. You moved to Rio and did hours and hours and months of training there together. So you always lived together. What now that it's all over? Are you still seeing each other?
Yeah, I mean, we went yesterday, we went mountain biking together, which was great fun. We haven't seen that much of each other the last month, and I'd say I definitely feel a bit lost, not having sort of that focus of a project to start with, and not having Hannah and Joe around me, which they have been. This is the longest we've probably not seen each other for 6 years, pretty much.
Tell me about Joe.
Joe's down in Exmouth. So Joe's a double silver medalist in his own right as a 470 crew, and he coached us in London to silver, and obviously this campaign as well. He's been a sort of amazing friend and mentor to me over the years when he was a competitor, and as a coach, he's just been awesome in making the difference between a silver and a gold medal. Hannah
presumably is going to continue?
Hannah's taking some time to sort of make that decision. Until they sort of have the discussions at world sailing level about what disciplines and what classes that will mean for 2020, it's quite a hard decision to make, what boat you might want to go in and stuff. So she's just taking some time to think about that and think about her options.
Yeah, I think they've got an AGM, an annual general meeting, World Sailing in November, which that'll be discussed, although I don't think we're expecting a decision that early. I'm intrigued by how you won the gold medal, because you had to wait a day, didn't you, to seal the gold because of the weather, but you were pretty much there. So barring disaster, it was going to happen for you. But did it spook you a little bit? I don't know if you're a superstitious person, because somebody might start wondering, what's in store? Why is this happening? Why have I got to wait 24 hours?
I think between the pair of us, we had very different reactions, actually. Han definitely got very suspicious, very conspiracy theory. I think if she could have slept in our boat, she would have done, just to guard it from anything. I sort of just focused on the fact that we were 20 points clear, and there was a bunch of 5 boats behind us that were all sort of within 3 points of each other, and thinking that they must be having a much more terrible time than us. So that was kind of where I put my focus.
Positive thinking. Did you ever manage to enjoy Rio? Because your time there started badly. The two of you were mugged and robbed, but that was a long time ago, and you spent a long time there afterwards. And then there was the whole issue of the water and sickness and all the rest of it. So apart from obviously the moment when you finally won the gold, did you ever actually start to feel at home in Rio?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's something like 150 days we spent out there in the end. And it's just one of those places you have to take as it is. It's visually, from the water especially, it's an absolutely stunning place. You know, you're sailing around and you're looking back on the amazing landscape behind you, and it's beautiful. Many times we were on a ley line or something, and Christ the Redeemer was our transit on that ley line. So it's pretty spectacular. From a sailing point of view, the conditions were really kept everyone on their toes. You know, we had such a range of wind speed, of wind direction, and of sea state. So it really was a challenging venue to get your head around and sort of try and cover all the bases.
2 golds and a silver for British sailing. And my next question in no way intends to devalue those medals or the achievements of the team. But I'm just wondering, were you as a team happy with 3 medals, given the resources and the effort and so on that goes into the sport?
I know there's individuals in the team that are really disappointed with their performance. I've spoken to them about it, and they would have wanted to win medals and do better. But I think the margins are getting smaller. Everyone's chasing. A number of countries have sort of copied our model and sort of added their own twist to it. Obviously everyone would like to win by 20 points in their regatta, or likewise win every gold medal, but that's not possible. So the fact that we won the medal table sort of proves where we are.
I think that's a very good point about the margins getting closer. And there were some extraordinary performances out there on Guanabara Bay. So we've talked about Hannah taking her time to decide what to do next. What about you, Saskia?
So I'm definitely retiring from Olympic sailing, and I'm going to start working for the Andrew Simpson Sailing Foundation in a month's time.
Tell us a little bit more about that challenge for you and why you chose it.
Well, it's definitely a challenge. I think just sort of retiring and walking away from British sailing, which has kind of been my family for the last 20 or so years, is kind of an institution, and I've been used to having all those people and that support around me. So just the challenge of a retiring athlete into the real world is a bit scary. I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared right now about that. But I'm looking forward to staying within the sport. An area I feel really passionate about is sort of grassroots sport, which is obviously what the foundation is all about. It's getting young people, so under 25-year-olds, who sort of normally in their life wouldn't sort of be exposed to sailing or get the opportunity to try sailing, to give it a go.
Yeah, and it's a fabulous opportunity for them as well to have someone so experienced and with so much knowledge as you, Saskia.
Thank you.
We had Bart's Bash, of course, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
The results are coming in. The money, more importantly, is coming in, and we'd love to hear more about that. Can you hang on a little while, and we'll come back to you. And you can fill us in on how Bart's Bash went.
Yeah.
Because it's time to get an America's Cup update. We're almost at the climax of the World Series. The 6 teams head off to Fukuoka in Japan in mid-November. I love saying that, Fukuoka. Why are they going there, by the way? It's SoftBank, Team Japan's home regatta, and SoftBank, their sponsor, have their headquarters in the city. It's as straightforward as that. The top 2 teams get bonus points to carry into the America's Cup qualifiers next year, remember. So it really is an advantage to win, or certainly come in the top 2 of the overall series. Now, mathematically, 4 of the 6 teams can still win, presuming that we get 6 races and everybody competes in every race. So the permutations are endless, and we'll probably be sitting there with calculators and computers trying to work it out as the racing goes on. But anyway, this is how they stand going into the final event. Top of the standings, Britain's Land Rover BAR with Sir Ben Ainslie at the helm. They have 437 points. The defender of the America's Cup, Oracle Team USA, are 14 points behind. Just 3 points behind them come Emirates Team New Zealand with Peter Burling helming. In 4th is SoftBank Team Japan with 399 points, and their skipper is Dean Barker.
These events are the chance we have to measure the performance of the team and how we're improving and developing as a group. And it's there's obviously a lot of relevance that we take into what we're doing back in Bermuda, but there's obviously a lot of elements which are missing in terms of technology and design and everything else. And with one more event to go, it's nice that we're sort of continuing to sort of show improvement, and it'd be great for us in Fukuoka to be able to sort of step up another level again.
Then comes our next guest, Nathan Outteridge, helming Swedish boat Artemis Racing. We'll get his thoughts on Japan in a moment. And last are Groupama Team France. There's no way they can finish in the top 2. So here's their skipper Franck Cammas on what he can get from the final event.
We don't have a big ambition in terms of a result because we know we cannot have the bonus point for the first or second place. So we need to take this race as a training. So change the crew, test new formula also, and improve the communication and the skill in terms of the communication between driver and tactician, etc.
Our next guest won silver in Rio alongside partner Ian Jensen, or Goobs to his mates, in the 49er. It was their second Olympic medal because they won gold at London 2012. He's a multi-world champion in the Moth as well as the 49er. He is Nathan Outteridge, and he also happens to helm Artemis Racing in the America's Cup. And I caught up with him at the team base.
Obviously, off the back of the Olympics, my initial reaction is to say congratulations on the silver medal. But for someone like you, so competitive, who won gold in London, what was your immediate reaction to that medal?
I think by the time the medal race came around, we were pretty excited to win the silver. I think it's been a tough campaign, and Pete and Blair have been performing really well for the full 4 years since London. And, we've been trying to chase them down like the rest of the fleet, and we were starting to make some inroads at the very end there, but we had a pretty tough first day with like an 8 and a 13, and they had 2 first. So from there on, it was their gold medal to lose, and we were fighting to get back onto the podium. So, a little disappointing probably at the start of the event, but, we had a lot of belief that we could get back on the podium, and it was nice to fight for it at the very end.
We don't want to talk about the opposition too much, but what do you think makes them so strong? Because they're on such an incredible roll, Burling and Tute.
I think they were very motivated after, their silver medal in London to go one better. And for sure, I think they were putting in a bit more time and effort than we were into the 49er class. And I think when you have that motivation and you're so driven with that one goal, it's very easy to make gains and to keep learning and progressing. I think when you've already won a gold medal, to try and go one better it's a hard position to see where the bar is. And I think that's where they made their inroads. They were just pushing hard, and they were so driven to go one better. And not saying that we didn't have that same drive or that passion, but they were, started off very strong in the 4-year campaign and did their best to not let anyone catch them.
Looking back now, and maybe looking back in a couple of years' time, are there going to be any regrets? Are you going to be quite happy with that silver medal?
I don't think there's any regrets at all. I think, we could have changed a few things to campaign purely towards a gold medal in Rio, which basically would have meant no America's Cup for myself or Ian. And we were very fortunate that, with our discussions with Perce and with Torbjörn about how we were going to run the last few years, it meant balancing the 2 campaigns, and we could have easily just done the Olympics, but as everyone knows, you don't want to throw away any America's Cup opportunities you have, and particularly in the boats that we're in these days. That was something that we were very passionate about, but we both believed that the best way for us to continue getting better as sailors was to keep that Olympic racing in, because we know there isn't that much racing in the America's Cup the way it's set up at the moment. And so if we'd only done 7 events over the last 3 years, we wouldn't really be pushing ourselves at all.
Now, the Brits got 2 golds and 1 silver in Rio. They finished top of the medal table. You guys won 1 medal more, but only 1 gold. So you finished, I think it was in 3rd behind the Dutch as well. So what's the Aussie view of that? Do you think you still were the strongest sailing team out there?
I think that we left Rio as a sailing team, the Aussies being very pleased. I think after London's immense success with 3 golds and a silver, it was going to be a very difficult challenge to back up with, especially a few key members leaving. You know, we lost Malcolm Page, who has a wealth of experience, and Tom Slingsby. And they changed the match racing class, so you know you're very thin on numbers. So we had a lot of rookies coming into it this year, and it was great to see Tom Burton, you know, step up and pull off a very, you know, nice medal race, something that I'm sure even himself was doubting he might be able to do the night before it. And to see guys like Jason and Lisa, first-time Olympians, so much young talent there, you know, going very well. And then, you know, Matt and ourselves, you know, backing it up with podium finishes. I'm sure, you know, we both would have preferred to see the gold than the silver, but I think winning a medal is a lot harder than everyone gives it credit for. It's not like coming second at a Worlds or third at a Worlds. It's something that everyone's chasing, and there's no excuses come the Olympics. So
where do you keep them, all these medals? Your World Cup medal, your World Championship medals, your Olympic medals?
The Olympic medals are back together now. I had left the gold one back with my parents for the last few years because I've been travelling so much, but now that we're going to be just based in Bermuda the whole time, we've got the gold and the silver medal together, and it was really nice to get back to Bermuda after the games and sort of share it with the whole Artemis team. And you know, all the kids there were, you know, loving looking at the medals, and hopefully we're inspiring them to get into sailing as well. So
well, which is your favourite? I mean, logically one would say the Olympic gold, but I guess that's not necessarily the case.
I think the favourite Olympics of the 3 I've been to was London. I think from the moment that campaign began with Goobs, all our trips to London were always successful, always walking away with wins. Sometimes they were easy ones, sometimes they were difficult, and we knew all we had to do was put on a good performance that week and we'd win. And we did put on a very good performance. We sailed with very low errors, and you know, we walked away thinking, shit, that was actually fairly easy, and I was expecting more things to go wrong than what actually happened. And then Rio was almost the exact opposite. We'd been struggling for 4 years. We knew we had to sail really well, and we didn't. But I was very proud of how we fought back and how we dug ourselves from outside the top 10 to slowly get back into it. So I think when the event ended on the final medal race day, I was more pleased with how we sailed in Rio in the end. But as a whole campaign and managing a campaign, the London one was hard to beat.
So Ian Jensen, your sailing partner, do you ever get away from him? He's here with Artemis as a wing trimmer. How does that relationship work?
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time together, probably in the last 7 or 8 years, and we were doing all the World Series events together, all the 49 events together, and all the ones in Bermuda. And we did make a change to the World Series crew that left Goobs not on the boat for a few reasons. One, because these are very physical, athletic boats, and we had other guys in the team who had, you know, better boat handling skills, but not, say, better trimming skills. And the way that these boats work, it's more a boat handling race than a trimming race. But also, as Perce was saying to me, he could see we were getting on each other's nerves a bit. And he said, you got to take a week apart from each other every now and then.
This is Ian Percy.
Yeah, Ian Percy was saying to us, come on, boys, you know, you can't spend 52 weeks together for 3 years. And he was right. And it was actually probably quite a nice balance to get a week apart every time there was a World Series event. Meant that Goobs wasn't being run into the ground completely, going from sailing on the Turbo to the World Series to the 49er. And he was able to get either a little bit of a break back in Bermuda during those periods, or get his head into the development side of things a bit more. So it's hard when you are spending that much time together, but you can only do it if you get along very well and you understand the limits between each other as well.
And was that your last Olympic campaign?
I don't think you can ever know when your last Olympic campaign is. A lot of questions on that, and a lot of thinking about that. And I think one thing's for sure, I don't want to, and Goobs and I have discussed it, we wouldn't want to do an Olympic campaign the same way we've done this time. I think trying to do a 3-year campaign in the Olympics as well as trying to do the full-on America's Cup campaign in boats that don't really complement each other that well is quite difficult. And I think if I was to do it again, it all depends on when and where the next America's Cup's going to be, and if I still have a job and all that. So you look at a guy like Santi Lang, he won a gold medal in his 50s. So I think I've still got a few years left, but we'll see what happens after this Cup ends as to what the options are. We know when the Olympics are going to be in Tokyo. And I believe there's going to be some class changes between now and the start of next year too, so that might give some opportunity.
Do you have an inside track on that?
All I know is that from what I've been reading and talking to people, they want the Olympics to showcase a bit more of the direction of the sport. They want boats to be foiling. They want maybe foiling, kiting and stuff to come in. And I think my personal opinion is I think we need to keep some of the traditional boats and sailing, but I think we need to promote the future of sailing, and that is these foiling boats. And I think we need to look at alternate race formats as well that actually make it more interesting without compromising the integrity of the sport.
You mentioned Bermuda. What's life like in Bermuda, especially for those who aren't lucky enough to have gone? Because a pro sailor living in Bermuda, doing an America's Cup campaign, presumably it's all about luxury apartments, fine living, fine cars, or not?
No, it's nothing like that at all for us. I think.
You sure?
No, 100%. Well, you don't find many luxury cars there, and none of us could afford to live in luxury apartments. But it's a very nice lifestyle there. There's a very good community where where all the Cup teams are set up. We're obviously in Morgan's Point, the others are in Dockyard, and between those two parts, there's a nice community in Somerset, and most people are like renting houses, have access to boats and moorings, and so anytime you get an opportunity to have a day off or even an evening off, especially in summer, people are out spearfishing or going fishing or paddleboarding, enjoying the lifestyle. It's this once in a lifetime opportunity where you're going to get to live in what most people call paradise, and it definitely is paradise. It's such a awesome place to live, and then we're sailing the most incredible boats in a very, very user-friendly sailing environment. Flat water, quite shifty winds inside the bay there, inside the reef, and I know everyone was questioning if it was going to be a good decision, and from my perspective, you couldn't find a place to train for the America's Cup without the distractions. There's just no distractions there besides other water activities, and you go to big cities and life gets difficult and things take longer. I think we're very fortunate that we made the decision to set up there and make the use of the 1.5 year preparation.
You've mentioned some activities there that you can get up to in Bermuda, but what do you like doing away from sailing? Have you got any other interests, hobbies? What floats your boat, so to speak?
I think I'm going to have to try and work that out now, because I have never had that opportunity to think about what else I would like to do besides sailing, because between an Olympic campaign and a Cup campaign you actually don't get a day off. But my wife and I have got a nice sort of fishing boat there. Neither of us are really into fishing, but her dad's really into fishing, and he's coming out to visit us soon, so I'm sure he's going to teach me how to use the rod and remind me how to do that again. But we just quite enjoy having people over for dinner, coming over on the weekend, and we've got a dock out the front of our house, so trying to encourage people to come by boat and just enjoy the lifestyle and the weather. Em really likes going out on the water, and we're going to try and do that quite a bit on the weekends if we do get days off.
You all kind of live as an Artemis family out there, and I think that helps the team spirit.
Absolutely. Not only the Artemis family, it's strong because you move to an island where they're effective is you don't know anyone there, and the way all the work permits work, it's incredibly difficult for a partner to get any work on the island. And so, the wives and the husbands and the children all end up sort of hanging out together. And I think it's awesome for the team, but I think it would be very difficult if you were the only team there, because it is a little bit difficult at times. But we have the guys from Team Japan there, the guys from Oracle there, so there is a nice America's Cup community where we do get together for social occasions, whether it's you get to have a raft up, or whether it's the fact that they put on Foil Fest a few weeks ago and we all got together and did a bit of racing, and the families are out supporting and watching the racing. And one thing I like about Bermuda is it's so easy to get out and do that, whereas I think when the teams were, say, in San Francisco, the water was so cold, it was always so windy, none of the families ever got a chance to get out on the water, and then people end up living so scattered that to go around and have dinner at a friend's house just didn't happen because it was too hard. So you go out to restaurants, whereas it's much more of a family kind of environment. And like Em loves to entertain, so 3 nights a week we've got people coming over, whether they're from our team or other teams, and just talking about other things other than the America's Cup sometimes.
Sounds great, and I think the Brits are coming out in November, so they'll be the new kids on the block as well to add a little bit of something else to the mix. Almost done, just one more question. Fukuoka coming up next. That's the last of the World Series, and then it's on to the serious stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking forward to going to Japan. I've never been there myself, and from everything I've heard, it's going to be a good sailing venue. I know I've spoken to Dean a lot about it, and he said he's made a visit there, and it looks like it's going to be a great event. And it's going to be the final event as well. So, we're looking forward to trying to. We've been very inconsistent in our results in all these World Series events, and we found a bit of consistency in Chicago, and then with my absent in Portsmouth, we're trying to go back to that consistency. So we need to just iron out a few bugs and try and get a good result there. And you don't have to win these events to be happy. You've just got to be sailing well and getting on the podium. I think what makes you happy. And I'm happy that we're making all the mistakes now in this World Series racing, because that will mean that we're hopefully not going to make them in the Challenger Series. Even though the boats will be different, the race format's similar. You get used to interacting with the race committee and the way the marks and that are all set up. So, looking forward to the World Series winding up and sort of saying what are the main things we learnt from this racing format and how are we going to make the most of 2017.
Nathan, best of luck. Thanks very much for talking to us. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Right, well, as promised, let's hear more from Saskia Clark and Bart's Bash. So, Saskia, you were telling us earlier in the show that you've hung up your sails, so to speak, as far as Olympic sailing is concerned, but you're dedicating your time to the Andrew Simpson Sailing Foundation. I know Nathan did his part and went off sailing, I think it was in Bermuda, for Bart's Bash. So tell us how it all went.
I think we just had an absolutely spectacular festival of sailing over the weekend. It was amazing, from the AC teams in Bermuda, sort of obviously high-end, high-performance sailboats racing, to the Southport 24-hour race, where, which is always a great event anyway, but that was part of Bart's Bash this year, 800 people joining in for a 24-hour sailathon. So I think just the sort of the breadth of people turning up and doing it was spectacular.
So how much? That's the big question. How much was raised?
Well, it's all still coming in. So from the over 7,000 sailors so far that have sort of reported their results and everything, we've got £65,000 raised so far. That's come from 58 countries. So that's pretty spectacular. But, the money and the end results are still coming in. So if you haven't got your results in yet, make sure you upload them onto the website so we can get it all processed.
So tell me about your Bart's Bash and where you raced and how it went.
So I did Bart's Bash in Weymouth, sort of working actually on the committee boat. I think in Weymouth we had 120 boats, and that was great. We had Giles, gold medalist, was there in a 49er.
Sorry, Giles Scott was racing a 49er?
Yeah, it was something to behold, yeah. He was capsized before the start gun had even gone. Simon Hiscox was sailing with his young son, Nick Dempsey with his kids, and then we had a lot of the other Olympic, Hannah, Sophie Ainsworth, they were all just sailing with young kids who had turned up and didn't have a boat to sail in, so it was great. And then I travelled up to my home in Essex, West Mersey, for Sunday, and I raced a Sport 14 with Tom, who was the highest fundraiser from my local club at Dabchicks.
And we should explain the £65,000, which is going to be a lot more once all the money's in, is going to be spent on Paralympic sailing.
Well, Bart's Bash this year was all focused around Paralympic sailing, which has been dropped from the 2020 schedule in Tokyo, which is a real disappointment for I think for everyone. And we really want to get that back in 2024 to give all those people a chance to go to Paralympics.
Cool. Well, the very best of luck, and we'll continue to follow you and support you on that mission. Finally, you've said you've retired from Olympic sailing. What are you going to do with all the spare time? What are the things that you've always wished you had more time to do? I don't know, watch more TV, go to the movies?
No, you end up watching quite a lot of TV, a lot of box sets as an Olympic sailor, actually, as you sort of travel the world.
Your favourite?
At the moment, definitely Nashville. It's great. I like a good country sing song. I think just hanging out really with friends and family. Sort of the amount of travelling you end up doing, it means that you don't have. You just sort of pop into people's lives for a few days every few months and then sort of disappear again, and so you sort of lose that closeness sort of with your family and friends. So I'm really looking forward to just being around more and being part of my friends and family's lives.
Saskia, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us, and the best of luck with whatever you choose to do in the future, and especially, of course, with the Andrew Simpson Sailing Foundation and your job with that charity. And apologies to everyone that the connection with Saskia wasn't great.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And that is Sailing Uncovered for this month. We'll be back in late October with our preview to the Vendée Globe, which will feature two of the race's top names. Can you guess who they might be? Subscribe to our feed and channel and you'll get notified when every episode goes live, so you won't miss a thing. Hope you've enjoyed this one and that you'll tell your friends to tune in. Goodbye and fair winds.